Good morning, lovely souls. How are you all today? I hope you're well. It's what's the date today? The 6th of January. It's 12th night. Do you know what? I don't know where this first week of January has gone. Anyway, because it's 12th night today, I am going to, reaching for prop, I'm going to be doing something in the shed with my pan later. More of that later. But yes, it's 12th night, so it's the last day of Christmas today, so it's time to get on with things other than Christmas, socialising, drinking with friends. It's been great. Not a huge amount to do today in terms of sort of planned stuff, but one of the things that's been really bugging me in the last few weeks, and I kind of highlighted it to myself when I was doing my January tour the other day, is just trying to get hold of some sort of mulch from somewhere. And as I was drifting off to sleep last night, I suddenly thought of somewhere where I can maybe get a little bit. So we'll go off there shortly and see if I can do a little bit of scrounging for a little bit of mulch. The other thing I need to do today, and I've set them aside already, is bring home my seed tins, my tins of seeds. So I keep most of my seeds in these tins, the smaller things, and then with my beans, I keep all my beans in jars because they're bigger. I generally keep them in the shed over winter and into spring because it's always pretty cool in here, which is just what they need. Obviously jars and tins mean that if I ever did get a mouse coming into the shed, then, well, they can have a nibble on the corn that's still drying, but they can't eat my seeds. I don't know if any of you saw it last year, but Jane, on Jane's allotment, it got to springtime, bless her, and she started to go through her seeds, and she pulled up her bag of, what was it now? It was her broad bean seeds that she was, I'm just getting ready to plant my broad bean seeds. Picked them up. The mice had the lot. Pesky mice. So yes, I'm going to get some water. As soon as I start speaking, I need some water. It's because I'm a bit of a mouth breather. Hang on. So yes, if you're keeping your seeds in your shed, make sure they're in a mouse-proof container, such as a tin or old jam jars, that sort of thing. Don't think they won't chew through plastic. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because I've never stored seeds in plastic. However, I did used to store things like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, that sort of thing, down at my great aunt's house in little plastic pots. And there's a pot that had gone right to the back of a cupboard, and it kind of got lost and forgotten, and came back to it a few months later. They'd chewed through the corner of the plastic tub to get in, and it was quite a thick plastic. It wasn't like a margarine pot. It's proper a bit of sort of Tupperware. Anyway, they chewed through it and got to the I can't remember whether it was the pumpkin or the sunflower seeds now, but they'd had the lot. So yes, by all means store your seeds in your shed, but make sure they're in something mouse-proof. Right, so I think as a bit of a warm-up, because the weather's a bit funny at the moment. It is pretty mild most days. We're sort of hovering around 8 degrees or so most days. Sorry, I'm going to try and see if I can work out the Fahrenheit by looking at my little shed thermometer. So what's 8 degrees? 8 is about 45 Fahrenheit. So around about that most days. That's pretty mild. And I know there's loads of you who are kind of in the low 30s at the moment. But we have, in the last couple of nights, we're down to 0, and I think a couple of nights ago we actually got down to -2, which is, sorry, I'm rubbish with this Fahrenheit thing. -2 is about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's that time of year when I'm coming to the plot with way more clothes on. I don't know if I can show you. So I've got 2 pairs of trousers on and I've got long socks. It's the first time I've put long socks on since March. And these, I don't know if you can make them out, they're covered in veggies. These are my veggie socks from Amy. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, so loads and loads of clothes on. Loads of layers, but that's great because as I work and get warm, I can chuck a few off. And I was talking with Jazz the other day, chatting with Jazz about the weather from Alternative Small Holding. Both of us saying, actually, I don't mind the cold. It's quite invigorating and freshening if you're wrapped up. I don't even mind damp days as long as it's really mild, you know, like 13, 14, 15 degrees centigrade. But you combine wet and cold, it's just miserable. I'm out of here. So, yeah, it's... Oh, my label's tickling me. Yeah, it's pretty mild at the moment. It's a few layers on, and that will suffice. So I'm going to get out there and play. Actually, I was talking also to Rob. Hey, Rob! About the whole clothing thing. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but one of my ex-colleagues from the hospital I used to work at is from New Zealand, and she always used to say, and it's a great quote, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. So get yourselves out there, wrap up. If you get a bit too warm, take a layer off. If you get a bit chilly, put another layer on. And on that note, I think it's time to go and hit the garden and see what I can get up to today. Not as much as I was hoping for, but a little is better than nothing. So, it's a little harvest of stinging nettles. I did get stung. I pulled my sleeves up because I was getting warm. Stupid girl. Yeah, so nettles. We're all familiar with making nettle tea, that sort of thing. Nettle tea is a feed for the plants. I like my nettle soup, although I don't use this patch because there's lots of foxes and dogs around. I've got a private patch of nettles somewhere secret for my food consumption. But yeah, it just occurred to me last night that there's this just tiny little bit of waste ground sort of on the back of a car park that's never tended, and this is all of last year's growth, so it's obviously in the spring it's going to put on a whole load of new growth. And I did mention this last year, but I think it's worth reiterating. I'm only cutting this all down now because it's last year's growth. There's no other life going on in there at the moment, but as we go into spring, I wouldn't harvest nettles after probably about the beginning of April or so, just because they provide a fantastic habitat for a number of our butterflies. I think in particular it's one of the tortoise shells. Sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's one of our butterflies which is particularly struggling, and it uses nettles for laying its eggs on. And then obviously the eggs hatch into little caterpillars and they then feed on the nettle. So please, please, please be mindful that if you're harvesting nettle either for your own consumption or for making the nettle tea as a feed for your plants, please don't harvest between about April and July. Now on this particular patch that I've taken from today, there's not a huge amount here because it's massively died back, but look, it's better than nothing, isn't it? I was thinking about chopping it all up. I'm not going to bother. There's a bit of a bare patch right at the top of bed number 1 where I've harvested a load of carrots, where all the the cosmos flowers came out. So I'm just going to lay it on the ground, just partly as mulch to protect the soil from the winter rains. And then in the spring, what's not rotted down completely, whatever, I'll just turn it in. Yeah, and like I was saying, on this particular patch that I've harvested from today, I've never actually seen any butterfly activity there in terms of either butterflies flitting around, or every now and again I have a little look, I turn leaves over to see if I can see any of their eggs. I haven't ever seen any on that particular patch. However, that doesn't mean I'm going to give myself carte blanche to just use it, harvest it, demolish it. Although they may not have used it last year, the year before that even, who knows? This year may be the year when one or two beautiful little butterflies find that patch and say, yay, perfect place to bring up my children. So just be mindful. Right, better than get spreading this out. I think I've got a couple of stalks of cosmos or root clumps that I'm just going to get out first, and just make sure there's no weeds in that little area. There's really not very many weeds around at the moment, but I'll just give it a quick weed if necessary before I then put this lot on the top and cosy up that bare bit of bed for the rest of the winter. Well, it's definitely not going to give me a huge amount of coverage, but like I said earlier, a little bit is better than nothing at all, right? Let's just see. Oh, there's one carrot left in there. Let's do it around that. And just as I'm out and about, I'll just keep my eyes peeled for any other material that I think might be useful. Actually, it's been so dry for weeks now that if I see one of the committee members, I'll ask them if they can bring me a lawnmower and I can do all the communal path mowing, because then I could get a load of more mulch on here. But for now, that will do. That will do. Right, what's next on the little old list? Yay, I'm so excited. So, this little bit I was going to do a little bit later, ideally at dusk. However, two things. One, I don't really want to be in the park at dusk on my own. And two, our lovely Gary's turned up and I haven't seen him for ages. And he loves what I'm going to do this afternoon. So he's like, yay! And I thought, well, if I start it now, then he can join me. I'm going to get ready to wassail the apple tree in our communal orchard here on site, and then later wassail my adopted pear tree in the public park. Brilliant. So let me get things started and then we'll chat as we go along. So, whoopla, wrong button. Is that engaged? Yeah. Oh, please have gas. Hold on. Yeah, there should be enough gas in there. This might be a take two moment. It might be because the gas is a bit cold. I'm just going to try another canister. Bear with me, folk. Have I got another canister? Otherwise, we're going to end up with a cold mug, and that's not the same. Ah, yeah, spare one here. Oh, I should have put it down my shirt, shouldn't I, to warm it up? I might yet have to do that. So, the Wassail. It's actually... No, it's freezing cold. I'm just going to... Excuse me a sec. Just gonna... Oh, it's going to be so cold. Oh, it's freezing cold. Whilst we wait for this to happen. Yes, so... Wassailing is... gosh, it's an ancient... It's not an ancient tradition. It's quite an old tradition. I think a lot of us in the modern era think of wassailing specifically to do with our orchards. But actually, it's a tradition for the full 12 days of Christmas. And what I'm going to make now is the Wassailing cup. So I'm basically taking some apple cider, as opposed to pear cider, which is pear, some apple cider. I'm going to add a few bits and bobs of spices, mull it. And that's the cup that you would offer to your friends and neighbours to drink from, to say wassail. And wassail literally, or did mean, or does mean, so I'm not making any sense, this is so cold on my belly. Wassail simply means good health. So if I was to come to you and say, Wassail, I'm saying good health, your reply to me would be drink hail, which means your health too. So I hope this warms up enough to actually mould this cider, otherwise it's going to be cold. We can have it cold if not. So traditionally on Twelfth Night, the 6th of January, at dusk, people would wassail their apple trees, their orchard trees, to wish the tree good health for the coming year, to wish for bounty from its boughs, quite simply by singing a song, sprinkling some of the gorgeous wassail cup around the roots of the tree, quite often lighting fires. I can imagine at times everything was quite raucous. I'm going to just, excuse me, see if that's warmed up enough. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I can imagine it was quite raucous at times. Now, I always thought it was a pagan tradition, so I did a bit of looking up and reading. Nah, it's just not going to happen today, I don't think. Yeah, I thought it was pagan, but I did a bit of research, and it turns out the first written reference to Wassail is as late as I can't remember the exact date now, something like 1120s, early 12th century, in Geoffrey of Monmouth's history. So yeah, it's way post Christianity. So I'm not sure if he's noting it for the first time in writing, but actually this is something that's been going on forever and ever and ever. Don't know. At this rate it won't be happening at all, will it? Do you know what? Let's hold for a second and see if I can get this canister warmed up. Well, whilst I'm waiting for that canister to warm up, let's get the cider in the pan. I'm not really a cider drinker. I find it a bit too sweet, but, well, it's got to be done with cider, hasn't it? A couple of cinnamon sticks in there. You should put them in when it's warm, but I'm thinking, well, if I don't ever get this gas canister warmed up, can you see it in my tummy? If I don't ever get the gas canister warmed up, at least there might be a little tiny bit of infusion of the spices. Handful of cloves. I watched a fascinating programme recently, there's a hair in there, about origins of spices. I knew that cinnamon had come from the bark of a tree, but I'd never really looked very, very closely at a clove. And what I didn't know was that is, or was, the sort of bud of the flower that's then, the flower's dyed back, and then that little bit is taken off and dried. Never knew that. There we go. It's great to learn something new every day, isn't it? And then nutmeg. I should have brought a fresh one, but then I would have had to bring a grater as well. Just a little bit of nutmeg. I don't have any ginger. If I had some ginger, I'd probably add that too. Oh, should we just try this canister again and hope. Come on, let's be optimistic. Let's keep our fingers crossed. No, let's stick it back in for a while. Right, we'll stick this back in for a while and come back. There we go. So, Gary's turned up. Hold on a sec, Gary. Basically, no, it's fine. So, look, this gas canister's not working, so I'm just gonna. This is going to be messy. I'm going to just empty it in the jug so I can strain it. Oh, it's going to be a sticky mess if I leave it and ignore it for a few days. So, your Wassail cup should be warm.
Is this very sugary?
You'll have to only have a sip, Chuck.
Be careful. Yeah. It's fine. I like it, but it's not.
Just a wee slurp.
Are we dram?
So, it should also be in a massive, massive big cup / bowl.
Yeah, no, don't give me a lot. Just
so, well, you can take yours to the tree.
Thank you.
So let me give Gary his. Let me get the camera off the tripod.
And what's this from then? Oh. Tell me what it's from. What's it made of?
This is. Let's pop outside so we've got better light. It's just apple cider, as we were pointing out. You don't have perry, that's pear cider. Just apple cider and some spices.
Cloves.
Yes.
Cardamom.
Ah, no, I should have thought to put cardamom in.
Can sort of taste that. Yeah, it's nice.
So, wassail.
Wassail.
Do you know the answer?
No, I don't.
It's drink hail. So I say
ale.
wassail. You
Okay,
say,
drink
so
ale.
wassail, Gary.
Wassail. Drink ale.
Drink hail.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay.
So now what we have to do is go over to the other side of the pot, to the orchard, and wassail the tree. And I've got some words as well. Actually, I might get the tripod because I can't do drinking words and wassailing all at the same time. Right, let's see you over in the orchard. Okay, so we've got our wassailing song. There are different types of songs, but I picked this one because it's specifically for an apple tree. We're not going to do the music though. So are we ready?
Yeah, okay.
Old apple tree, old apple tree, we've come to wassail thee, to bear and bow apples enough, hats full, caps full, 3 bushel bags full, barn floors full, and a little heap under the stairs. And now we offer up to the tree's roots, a little bit of our wassail cup.
Not having much.
Not having much because there's a lot of trees to do. So, happy wassail to you all.
Happy New Year, everyone.
So we say wassail and you back to us say drink hail, and we will drink to your health from the wassail cup.
Cheers.
Right, let's go and do the rest of the orchard, Gary. This is the last one on our little communal orchard, and it's a plum. So we've got a plum wassail for it. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Wassail the trees that they may bear you many a plum and many a pear. For more or less fruits they will bring, as you do give them wassailing. So let's wassail our little plum.
If this doesn't bear now, I should be really disappointed.
Wassail!
Wassail.
And I'm going to save a last little drop, and I'm going to do this same plum and pear one in a second out in the public park for my adopted plum tree, and I'm going to look like a nutter dancing around the tree with me wassail cup saying these
Nothing
words.
wrong with that. Nothing wrong
But
with
yeah,
that.
good health to all your trees this year
And
too.
Happy New Year.
Well, that has been a total joy, made even more pleasurable by the fact that Gary turned up. I had no idea he was going to be down today. I haven't actually seen him for ages, so we've had a good catch up. We've been all excited about our plans for the year, and just general merriment. And that was before we all started drinking from the wassail cup. It's really lovely actually, even though it didn't get hot. Those spices left in it for half an hour or so before I strained it, just enough to take off that sticky sweet edge that I'm not too keen on. Anyway, how wonderful to wassail with someone else. And actually we were both just saying that next year we should try and make it not a sort of an organised formal thing, but just let people know that it's happening, so that if other folk want to come along, and maybe some of our fellow plot holders who have children who don't know about these things, get them involved too, and we could all open up our sheds and all mull a bit of cider ourselves, and I think that would be marvellous and a really lovely way to end the 12 days of Christmas and for us all to start looking forward to our new growing year. So fingers crossed that's worked a little bit of magic for some of our old trees which have been struggling a little bit in recent years. So I'm actually going to go and carry on in the garden, just doing a little bit of tidying up and bits and bobs here and there. Very boring stuff. Very boring stuff. Oh, hello, Poppy. Hello. Would you like something from the wassail cup? No, don't worry. I am not about to give the cats any alcohol. Yes, so I'm going to get back to the garden, do a little bit more tidying up, make the most of this lovely dry day. It's so peaceful. The birds are singing. I've got about an hour of light left. So, yeah, I'll make the most of that. Why don't you all go off now and wassail your orchards? Yay! So, happy wassail, everybody. I'll see you all again soon, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves.